Hi, everyone. We are live on Broadcast Dialogue and the Sound Off podcast on Facebook. I also put this up on YouTube and the Sound Off podcast stream, just so we could say we're YouTubers. Shawn, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being here, making this happen.
Well, by the way, if everything goes dead, it's because the power in Winnipeg, I had a flicker for the first time in months, because now we're moving into winter and there's snow coming and
Hey, look, I shoveled 2 days ago, so, I can't talk. It's going to be a brutal winter.
I'm glad we got together for this, by the way, to talk about your initiative at Broadcast Dialogue, which came out this morning, that I read about. But, you've been talking a little bit over the last little while, and that's the Canadian Radio Awards. And, we're in such a weird time, and I wanted to know more about it.
Well, it is a weird time. It's been a hell of a year. I know you and I have been talking since the spring and keeping in contact, and week by week. It's been bad news, more bad news, glimmer of hope, bad news, more hope. Oh no, some bad news. Really, really a smorgasbord, I guess, of a year. And it's easy to think negatively sometimes and not see the forest for the trees. And talking with you and a lot of other folks across the industry, it occurred to me, there's some really great work happening right now. Maybe we're going to look back on this time and see that we did our best work. And that's kind of what led to the idea of the awards.
So when we, by the way, when we talk about how you're doing, how are you doing, by the way? We're in a code red in Manitoba, and I think it does vary across the country, but I think together as a nation, as a planet, we've all been sort of locked down since March 15 when life started to change.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're lucky in British Columbia. We've got a great public health officer who's keeping everyone in line. But look, even as well as we've done here, there are challenges, and it's looking worse for the next few months. So the good thing is, though, where people wear masks, we know how to treat COVID-19 in ways that we didn't 6 months ago. And our businesses, with the exception of those who just can't open at all, have learned to do business in a new way. And so I can only be hopeful as we go through the next few months. But it's tough. It's really tough.
So how'd you get the idea to come up with Canadian Radio Awards?
Well, I'd like to say it was all my idea, but it wasn't. Look, we haven't been able to travel. We haven't been able to do conferences and so on. We haven't been able to meet together, and we haven't been able to have an awards program for this year. So a lot of folks, several of my key friends in the industry have whispered in my ear, is it something you'd be interested in doing? And so we brought it to the team, and Connie Thiessen, who's our editor, and James Wallace and the rest of the team here, really threw their support behind it, and then it became a no-brainer for us. And when we began to talk to potential supporters and sponsors, we were gratified to find that everybody was all in.
So you bought the Broadcast Dialogue back in 2016. I think at one point the entire magazine at the time was going to go away, but you kept it going and you brought it back, and here we are a number of years later with this. We do get the mail out every Thursday, but you're constantly providing content online. So I guess this sort of dovetails really to what Howard's vision was of Broadcast Dialogue.
Oh, there's no question. Howard, from the very beginning, wanted to create a sense of community and report on the comings and goings of everyone in the industry. The revolving door was something that the Canadian broadcasters told us they just couldn't live without. And so it took me a long time to work on Howard and gain his trust in our vision, and that we would honor all that he and Ingrid had worked on over all these years. And I hope we've stayed true to that, and it really informs where we want to take the publication in the years to come, and indeed here in the fourth quarter with the Canadian Radio Awards.
So today's the day that nominations open up. Who can nominate, and how do we nominate? And how's all that happen? Well,
number one, if you haven't received your weekly briefing today, then you need to go to broadcastdialogue.com/subscribe. Subscribe. You will then be able to access the link, which you can go to and see, as of this morning, all the categories, all of the criteria that goes into the categories, how to apply. There's a series of steps. We've kept it pretty simple. And most importantly, for everyone who is involved in radio across the country, the submissions are free. We've been able to do that because we have such great sponsors and supporters who've come to the table and practically underwritten the event for the whole year. So it's pretty simple. The steps are there. We're going to look for a visual submission and an audio submission. And it doesn't matter whether you're a private, commercial enterprise, public, community, campus, multicultural. Anyone who's doing radio in the country is welcome to submit. And we're looking forward to it. And we've actually got the first one already. So time to get on it.
And did you say free?
Free. There's no entry fee.
Yeah. And, a lot of times people will, have stuff they want to submit. And it's like, and it doesn't matter if it's podcast or radio or anything. They look and they say, I'm not to. But, I think what this does, Shawn, is it really opens it up to just about anybody, as we see Matt Fogarty, who's commenting. And, he does a lot of creative writing, for instance. He's also voice talent and has voiced tons of stuff. And so he's probably got a plethora of material just sitting there, and he doesn't have to be too phased out about, it's going to cost me this, that. Mm-hmm. I've had to make decisions, by the way, when you get about 5 or 6, ideas in front of you, like which one are we going to be, putting the money towards to enter this particular contest? But how exciting is it that it's free?
It is free. We are limiting it to 1 submission per category, per station, per group. And so, station meaning entity. Groups, of course, have many, many different stations, but that's the way we're going to have to limit it in that regard. So if you enter once for your station in that category, that's it. And we have 12 categories, I believe. We've kept it very simple this year, but based on the submissions for this year, so will 2021 go. I mean, we'll make some decisions then about what the feedback was, and look, we have the perfect vehicle, which is Broadcast Dialogue, to feature these submissions week by week into the future, whether or not they're winners or not. There are going to be many, 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 many that are deserving of some recognition, and that's what we can bring.
Well, I don't mind mentioning a few of the categories that are out there right now, because people are like, well, what do I have and where do I fit in? Station of the Year, there's Program Director of the Year and Music Director of the Year. Best on-air team or host. Best on-air team or host for a news talk format. So one's a music format and the other one's like the news talk format. You've also got best anchor or reporter, best broadcast to podcast.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, tell me about that one.
Well, I mean, what we know is that podcasting is a huge, huge area. It's a natural extension for radio. Radio is no longer just one terrestrial real-time signal. It's about talent that's proliferated, thank you, across many different platforms and yet to be thought of, executions. So it's natural that we would have podcasts in there. And you know what? It could be a podcast to broadcast to podcast. We want to hear and see what everybody's doing. And we want to celebrate that.
Best on-air promotion. You've got best sales promotion.
Don't forget the salespeople.
Well, I think, we do a lot.
Yes. And it's so important right now because our industry is a sort of a symbiotic relationship we have. Our clients are our listeners, but our clients are also advertisers, and that's just the way that it is. And this is a particularly important time where a lot of groups have done a lot of extraordinary things for their advertisers and to bring them on and be partners in radio. And so we're looking forward to seeing those submissions as well.
I'm actually excited for that best sales one. I'd love to hear what comes out of that, because it's obviously a good idea that everyone's going to want to draw inspiration from.
Sure. And you don't have to fit neatly into the category. If we're going to accept all comers on this. And you know what, Matt, the one I'm really excited about is the extraordinary achievement in engineering, because the engineering department is the unsung department, or maybe not so unsung now after 6, 7, 8 months of COVID. There's a lot of really amazing stories out there that I've been hearing about engineers that put it all on the line, came up with brilliant solutions on the fly. And in fact, we're looking at a point now where the structure of radio is basically changing from now and into the future. So we want to hear from all the engineers as well and see what they've been doing.
Yeah, and that's outstanding. I mean, when you think about a business an industry that had to send everyone home, how did you do it? What challenges did you have to overcome? I mean, it formulates a great story, and I think you and your people are going to want to hear the story. And someone, we're telling stories here as much as we're also passing out awards. And
no question.
Yeah, and I don't mean. Of course, I'm here and I have a podcast, and I just released an episode yesterday, and it comes to mind that because I had Tony Coles on from iHeartMedia in the States, and he talked about launching a Black information network and having 30 transmitters all flicked to a network in a day or over the course of a weekend, and in the middle of a pandemic, where most of the people at here have not actually spoken to each other yet or met one another, that these achievements are being done.
Right.
Yeah. And there's another one here. There's Best Community Service Initiative.
Boy. I can't wait to see what comes in. We're in a privileged position. We see the press releases and a lot of the stations share with us their achievements in the community. And it's already amazing every week. But I think we're going to see some pretty heartwarming, emotional stories that are going to come in, and the more the merrier, and we'll share as many of them as we can.
And I'm going to geek out obviously over the imaging one, being from the voiceover and imaging and audio side, I just absolutely love that one as well. So you have kept it small, and you've taken some initiative here, and but we don't have a lot of time here in order to get it in.
No, and in fact, I was gratified that within 2 hours we had our first submission this morning. So people are hearing about it. They're ready to go. We want to see everything. I've heard from all kinds of different broadcasters who were asking me this morning, should we apply? And the answer is yes. We're going to take everybody that's involved with radio across the country, no matter what the platform, and show us your stuff, and we're eager to share.
All right. Well, some nice comments coming in as well here. So on Facebook, so you can respond to it if you want. But, overall, I noticed that in the past, a lot of people have been trepidatious about doing it. It's going to take some time. I don't have the time to do it. It might take some money. I don't have, but again, you just mentioned that anybody can throw in on this and it doesn't cost. And, you said one submission per category per station. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Or per brand. Yeah.
Yeah. Per brand.
Yeah. And that's because of the sponsors. I have to give a shout out to all the sponsors who've come on board. We do have 4 sponsorship categories left, and they're really important categories. So if your company is interested in getting behind this, we do have four different positions still available. The names will go on the hardware that we send out to the winners. And you're going to get all kinds of love from Broadcast Dialogue and from our community. And we also have supporters too, really gratified that the groups have come in. The larger ones, Rogers, iHeart, Stingray, Chorus, Vista, Pattison. And without that support, we wouldn't have been able to pull off this miracle here in the fourth quarter.
This is, by the way, you've given radio people 2 weeks. And I've been a part of initiatives in radio where we say the deadline is going to be like January 6th.
Yeah.
And then we're still asking for them in February. And then, the awards is like going to be like March or April or something. So
we're not going to announce until the 14th of December. And a lot of people said to me, Shawn, you can't do anything. It's coming up on Christmas. And my answer is, what? Is everybody going to be in Hawaii or Barbados? No. It doesn't really matter at this point. The spirit is there. The feedback I'm getting is that the stations are in. I know that there's sales meetings happening. There's programming meetings happening where they're deciding right now, what are we going to submit? So 2 weeks. Come on, let's get it done.
All right. Well, I'll be talking about it on both of our podcasts, I guess, that we have for the Broadcast Dialogue podcast and for the Sound Off podcast. You'll hear some details and mentions of it. You can just go into the show notes or also into the, because I'm going to be dropping in pre-rolls or mid-rolls into the whole thing and reminding people, because time is of the essence to get your submissions in. I think this is great that you've done this, and I'm excited. I don't think, and the nice thing is I don't think I qualify to participate in any of this stuff.
Unfortunately, you're a supporter.
I know.
And you can't participate. However, you're going to get lots of love through all this, and so you should, because your podcast is a must listen in the industry, and people love you, and I really appreciate your support as well.
Thank you very much. That's really, really kind. And by the way, I'm so glad that we managed to make it so that we can go on the Sound Off podcast page, but also the Broadcast Dialogue Facebook page. I mean, because it's there's more people on the broadcast.
Thank goodness you took the lead in that, because if it was me, we'd still be trying to get online. So I appreciate that.
I'm just thankful to Manitoba Hydro for keeping the power on for the duration of this conversation. So we have, what's the date again that we have to get everything in by?
The 29th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time.
Excellent.
And then we'll have 2 weeks to go through everything. And there will be a jury, which we won't announce until the awards are given out. And it's going to be made up of luminaries in the industry, past and present, and a really, really good cross-section of people that when you see who the judges are, you'll appreciate it all the more.
All right. Hey, Shawn, thanks a lot for doing this and lending your Broadcast Dialogue Facebook page and vice versa, for crossing the streams, as it were, which we're not supposed to do, but we did it anyway.
We did.
Well, they said not to do it in Ghostbusters.
You're the best. Love you. Don't change. You're marvelous.
No, thank you.
See you, man.
You too. Bye-bye.